It's okay. I told you. I told you it works wonders.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. Welcome to the most punctual podcast on this planet that we call Earth. This is the Honored Ones podcast.
Yes. What is up, guys? What is up? What is up? What is up? Hope you guys are doing well on this fine Sunday afternoon. Yeah, this is a lot to talk about, especially in comparison to last week. We got some fun, interesting, how should I say,
There are updates.
Uh,
There are certainly
there, there,
yeah.
there are update. There's a lot to talk about in a lot of regards. The book club. I'm gonna have a lot to say personally. I
Mm-hmm.
can't speak towards to Creams.
I will too.
But I will say I got some stuff to say about Slam Dunk. Black Clover had a super duper duper important, exciting announcement.
I don't know about it.
My hero
I don't know
dropped
about
My
excited.
hero dropped a really fun
Yeah,
chapter.
My Hero dropped a
Um,
7-page banger. You love to see it, bro. You know,
and JJK dropped something very divisive for us to talk about.
and we'll get to Blue Lock at some point in the middle of all of this. All right, so I want to start off by addressing Black Clover and I guess My Hero Academia, just sort of hand in hand, and then we'll branch off. All right. So if
Mhm.
y'all haven't heard the big news yet, Black Clover is officially leaving Weekly Shonen Jump and getting published exclusively in Jump GIGA, which is I believe a monthly magazine or bi-monthly. I forgot which one, but it
Giga,
means
you think it's no, it's not by it's
it's just
like it's once every or like once every season, so like 4 chapters a month or 4 chapters a year rather.
oh damn, so it's even more scarce. Yeah, fuck. I hope he
Yeah,
at least so
it's
it's like a 70 chapter drop kind of affair then.
all I know. I mean, I would assume so. They could be, but um, I don't read manga that are in Jump and Giga. Like I don't hate myself, so like I just wouldn't do that personally. However, I do think that the chapters probably scale at least a little bit to the like gap of time in between them or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's unfortunate, right? Black Clover's been in Weekly Shonen Jump for the better part of a decade, but Tabata's got to do what's best for his health, and obviously we both, at least I, support him in his quest to be healthy and have a more manageable work-life balance. It's a rare thing for mangaka, and if you have a soul, if you have a soul, you'd support this decision and not be too happy about Black Clover jumping ship.
I'm extremely happy about it. That's great for Tabata, you know what I mean? He made this decision for his health. He made the decision for the sake of the story. What more could you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like, hey, bro, listen. His body obviously just wasn't like able to handle it in these sort of like last stretches, and considering how long he's been going and how strenuous of a job being a mangaka is, it's not like a surprising thing. It's not like there are very few stories about mangaka like their bodies falling apart towards the end of their serialization.
Mm.
So if Tabata wants to like kind of take the failings of his predecessors and like use that to structure this final arc a little bit more how he feels like it, I mean, more power to him.
100%. And I think this leads into the thing I wanted to say about Horikoshi, which is, bro, after he dropped this chapter, you think he's looking at Tabata's like a shift, and he's like giving it the side eye, like, hold on, what you got cooking over there, huh? I didn't know that was an option. Is that like a anybody can do it kind of thing? Like, where do I sign up? Because look, Horikoshi's great, right? When he wants to be. Case in point, this chapter was exceptional. 7 pages. Get
Yeah.
some rest, bro. Like, is just get
I
some
mean, yeah, that's
rest.
what we've been saying for a while.
Yeah,
That's what we've been saying for a while. But Horikoshi definitely gives me like
it's like, bro.
I'll die for my manga vibes.
I
Unfortunately,
I think it's more like I'm being held hostage if I don't finish it. Like, I don't feel like, see, Oda's like, I'm willing to die for my manga, right? That man like sees his family once a week, right? Horikoshi feels like a, God, this is gonna sound so sad. You know the yes dear meme?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Like he just seems a little worn out, and I just think a break would benefit him a lot.
I mean, I think a break would benefit him for sure.
Right.
I think breaks would benefit all mangaka more, to be
Yeah.
completely honest with you. Take more breaks, cook or whatever. But like in Horikoshi's case specifically, I think so this is gonna come off as like kind of slander or whatever. And that's not really how I mean it. You can maybe throw a joke in there or two. Maybe I
Mm.
will myself. But like I'm gonna just put it kind of bluntly. Moving Black Clover to a different magazine is significantly different than moving My Hero over to a different magazine. Those two things are completely different in terms of their magnitude, in terms of like the impact they have on Weekly Shonen Jump specifically.
Mm.
Um, like there have been like jokes about how you'll see posters of like Shonen Jump's biggest series, right? And Black Clover won't be anywhere on there. Obviously sale wise, things like that. And that doesn't make the story any worse. I'm gonna hold back from the joke I had in my soul, right? I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna hold back the joke I had in my soul. But right, the sales stuff doesn't really matter. Like it still sells very well, but it's like when you look at like Jujutsu Kaisen, when you look at My Hero Academia, when you look at One Piece, and you look at Weekly Shonen Jump as like a corporation, you just have to ask yourself, do you think they would really let, in my opinion, their very top heavy magazine currently lose one of its like three core pieces? Granted, Black Clover kind of was that like fourth piece, but I think to such a lesser extent that it is a little bit of a more, you can take that loss on the chin a little bit more. So I like while I do think that Horikoshi, and I'm gonna probably put this as a broad statement. I think most mangaka that are doing this shit for like 5 years or more are kind of and this is a generalization, but they're very much I'll die for my manga type of attitudes, right? Just considering what like it's almost that attitude is sort of required of them, just because of the very harsh conditions they work under.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know if Horikoshi is consistently putting out like 7 to 10 page chapters. He doesn't even really seem like the type that is willing to take breaks, unless they're absolutely necessary. Even though they would be significantly better for his health.
Yeah. Whether this is motivated by a genuine love of the story and wanting to finish it like sooner rather than later, or some kind of resentment towards it, and he just wants to be done already. Who can say, right? We can only speculate on that. Either way, it just seems like Horikoshi and Tabata seem to be on similar wavelengths regarding the matter.
For sure. Yeah, I think it would do Horikoshi well to get on like a gay schedule. Maybe even like maybe even just do it like yeah, something where it's just like 2 to 3 weeks on, 1 week off. It just seems like it'd be healthier at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Jaden 3011, thank you for the 5. BR, I'm sorry, Sukuna's not beating the Fraudkuna allegations. This Fraudkuna takes this chapter. He got the drip diff, but dear God, bro,
Uh,
we're gonna talk about Fraudkuna
yeah,
a lot. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about JJK and we're gonna talk about Sukuna, but listen, bro. Y'all gotta understand that like I think Sukuna's gonna win, but that's different than me being like a real diehard Sukuna fan. Like
yeah.
this don't hurt me that way. Now, say this was somebody else, right? Say this was Kashimo. All right, well I'd be on my knees crying, right? Begging God to just either smite me or to fix this obvious error in the universe. But it's Sukuna, right? I think Sukuna will win as like a matter of narrative, not
Mm-hmm.
like I want him to win. He's my goat, right? In fact, I really do hate Sukuna. Listen, he's just a very hateable guy, and he's also piloting my goat. So I'm not really rocking with that guy in terms of like his personality and shit. For all like, in all honesty, like Gojo getting as many licks in before in what is in my opinion an inevitable loss is probably the best case scenario. Beat the piss out of Sukuna,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Humble him a little bit. That guy's an asshole. he
Bro, it
stole
took
my
Mega.
goat's body,
Yeah,
bro.
I
Yeah,
literally.
like what are we doing
Yeah,
here?
because like
Um,
I think a lot of the confusion, like when you okay, like if the canon in your head was Broken Ronin really wants Sukuna to win, it's really funny because like it would make you the most fake Megami fan of all time.
yeah, no. Like it's a matter of I think Yuji is going to be the one to save Megami primarily at least like he's and I think in order to do that Gojo at least has to be like a lesser component of the fight even if he doesn't like die or whatever. So it's I think Sukuna will win, but I'm not rooting for the guy. I actually deeply hate him. He's caused me immense suffering and strife these past several months. So I'm with the UG fans on that one.
You love to see it. But yeah, getting into the reviews of Black Clover, then My Hero. I think this chapter was a good send off to like as like a cliffhanger for all the new chapters coming out. I think the next one's gonna be, he just said winter in the final note, right? Um, it just had the Black Bulls like coming back to the fight with like their anti magic buff, but it was really cool,
Mhm.
seeing Yami, and Asta in the same chapter again. She was kind of
Yep.
gas, kind of gas.
Yep.
Um,
Obviously, we know who the MVP was. My
right.
goat, Let's go.
It is actually crazy that Asta came in to save him when he did, because Yuno was like a second away from dying right there. So shout out to Asta for that.
Yeah, you know better. Like look at him, bro. He was 2v1ing Lucius. Let's fucking go. That's go activities. Bro said, listen, you're the final villain. One of you ain't enough, right? You gotta at least double team me if you want me to take you seriously, right? And yeah, the pressure was a little bit. He got a little tired, right? But Asta came in to make it a nice even 1v1. And my goat is about to do goat things while amping the rest of the fighters. Yeah, that's what greatness looks like in Black Clover, guys. It's time to cook.
Man,
It's time to cook.
I'm so excited about it. Fucking hell, dude. It was like the most like innocuous thing, but you know how Noct's twin brother whips out the light magic and the dark magic on either hand, and
Mhm.
I just thought that shit was raw. I was like, no, not the dark magic, no fucking way. And like he hits Yami with it, and it's just like, yo, Yami, this is your magic, right? I'm like, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy disrespect. I don't know, man. I thought that shit was cool.
You would, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, I knew you'd see some shit
hey,
like
bro.
that. I mean, just yeah, but no.
That's it's up your alley, and you know what I mean. Like that's cool, bro.
I
Like
mean,
stay in your lane.
it's up your
It's good.
alley to like be the thief of joy, but we don't gotta talk about it like that.
Nah, bro. Nah, bro. Not me. Not me. Not me.
Mm,
But yeah, Black Clover was cool. Was in it, so I'll give it like a solid 6.5 out of 10.
mm-hmm.
It is probably like going into the next chapter, whenever that is, right? It's better that Tabata sent us off here than like wasting any chapters of us getting here,
Mm-hmm.
or like wasting any pages. So we're just gonna be able to like sort of jump into these fights for however long the chapters are. One thing I'm kind of curious to get your take on, right? And I know me curious about Black Clover. What is it? Opposite Day or something? But like,
Mm-hmm.
how many chapters do you think we're gonna see in this format until it ends? You know what I mean?
uh, See, this is tricky, right? Because it depends on how much rest he gets, and how reinvigorized. I just made a fucking word up. Oh my god. Um, re-energized he feels because of it. So for example,
Hmm.
if week to week he's like, I got maybe 20 more chapters in me before I just like burn out completely, then that's one thing. But if after like a month or two of this break and he's just like, bro, I feel like I could take this to like One Piece lengths, right?
Hmm.
That's a bit of a different
But
extreme.
we're in the final
Yeah,
arc,
yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. That's a bit too hard in the other extreme. So I don't think he's gonna be doing this for another decade. I want to say like about maybe two more years of chapters left, which I guess is like what, 10 chapters or 8 chapters?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like about that much. What about you?
Yeah, probably very similar. I could see like obviously it depends on the actual like page count. But like I could see like 6 to 8.
Yeah.
I could see something like that.
Um.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless like yeah, that's kind of how I see it
Yeah.
for sure.
I give the Black Clover chapter like a 7. Okay. Next up, we got My Hero Academia's 7-page banger. Um.
Yes, sir. Horikoshi has been like I don't care what anybody says, right? You can fucking be sad wherever. Horikoshi has been cooking for like 6 or 7 chapters straight, which as far as I'm concerned is like one of the longest streaks that I've been like really rocking with everything he's been doing for a while, right? I haven't like seen 6 or 7 consecutive chapters from Horikoshi and been like, damn, to each one of these. So I gotta give my props. The chapters are short or whatever, but like I'm really enjoying myself. This was a really good chapter.
Mm,
Um, All Might's cooking.
yep.
Some of y'all need to reread My Hero because the criticisms I'll be having, like criticisms are fine. Don't get me wrong. Like it would be crazy if I was like, don't critique My Hero. That would be nuts, right? But just just try to be a little bit smarter about him because I seen some I've seen some creams brained
Oh
takes, you
my
know what I mean?
god.
Like just some straight low IQ toilet takes. So
Slander is
like
crazy.
and don't think listen, just hold it, bro, or we're gonna have to discuss on stream who you think the main character of JJK is. All right,
Oh,
so
oh my
I
god.
recommend just holding it because doo-doo brain. All right, but anyways, my hero was cool. What are your thoughts?
I really enjoyed this chapter. It was nice to see the fucking veins pop out of All for One's eyes when he's like facing
Hmm.
down All Might. That shit was funny because you can tell they both know what's going on here, but both of them are like too petty to let the fight go. And it almost is like, yeah, bro, I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do. Fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like it's simultaneously like not an anti-intelligence feat for both of them, but it's more of like a spite feat for simultaneously this rivalry.
Well, I'm curious where you think the spite on All Might's part comes from.
Well, I
Because like he's
mean,
just playing all for one like a fiddle here,
yeah,
as far as
but
I'm reading
I
it.
mean, All for One, like he canonically hates. Sorry, All Might canonically hates All for One too, right? Like in their second fight, he mentioned like he hates everything All for One stands for, everything he's ever done. This whole Demon Lord nonsense dream of his, like I think All Might like is going in with like a very specific goal and like he's having fun trying to like do it, and he knows this is gonna be his send off, which is why maybe like he's fighting on his terms more than All for One is fighting on his terms. So it's like I think All Might is in a better position to hide it, but like let's be honest, man. All for One, he's very clearly taken like jumping at the opportunity that's being given to him right now.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why I read it as All Might just leading all for one by the nose. Um, like I think he wouldn't surprise me at all if he genuinely hates all for one, but I don't think there are any conceptions of like straight up beating him here. It's just a time, like it's just to buy time, and I respect it. I respect it because listen, bro's about as good as an actor as he was like the number one hero. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro.
Yeah.
The way he talking shit, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. He said I'm nearly 50 beating on a young kid. I'm like, oh, hold on. I wouldn't be able to let that slide either, I don't think.
Yeah, bro.
Um,
Hero All Might was like a different beast. You can tell like when it was time for him to suit up, he was operating on like different energy than when he was at UA.
yes, sir, yes, sir. Um,
So yeah,
yeah,
I'm I'm giving it like a
yeah,
solid 7.58.
yeah, this is 8 out of 10 for me. 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Horikoshi been cooking. Congratulations. Hope you get your rest, you fucking loser. Go relax, bro. Go relax.
Like
Um,
hit the showers, hit
but
the
yeah,
hammock, see your family, the usual stuff.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Next up, do you want to do Slam Dunk or Blue Lock?
Let's get into Slam Dunk
Okay.
first.
You want to go first
Um,
this time?
sure. So I will say there's gonna be some added maybe caveats and stuff like that, but I will say this, right? I'm standing in front of you here today, chat, and I'm gonna say this. I fucking called it last stream. Slam Dunk picked up.
It
I
did.
mean, I sensed it, bro. I smelled the incoming growth.
I mean,
Because literally
it's just
right after
it's literally a known fact that Slam Dunk picks up after Chapter 50. But go on.
it's literally shut the fuck. You're so dumb. Anyways, like yeah, literally right after where we stopped last stream, it started getting good. It started getting fun. The jokes are still not landing with me perfectly. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. They're still but they're just a lot less frequent. The
Mm-hmm.
characters are getting more compelling, and as they're getting more serious, things are getting like more fun to read. I will say it is improved significantly. Um, let's see. Yeah, Tester, we probably won't be talking about specific stuff anyways, like in terms of like general broad stroke stuff, so you're good. But like
It just suddenly decided to go from like a solid 4 to a solid 8, 8.5 for me. Man,
yeah.
I couldn't fucking believe the switch up after Chapter 50. I was like, I remember the arc with the the brawl. I'll try to be vague with a brawl.
I haven't
I
seen that part. That's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. Dude, the entire gym brawl was peak. I think I binged that in like 2 hours, a little less. Like, it was just awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. That is still probably my favorite part of Slam Dunk so far. Mitsui's whole thing has been like was really fun within the confines of that arc. Definitely, I was tweeting through some of my read of that. I will say I kind of came down from that high a little bit once we started getting into the games and stuff like that, and that's actually probably, besides the comedy, my biggest and most prevailing criticism of Slam Dunk.
Ooh,
And that's
let's
just the
go.
fact that like the games don't look good.
Mm.
In the sense that they're not very visually engaging to me. And that's not really it's not something to say to like Inoue's art style or like the quality, because in and of itself that is good. Like, so I know that may sound crazy on like an initial phrasing, but it's more so that the moment to moment action of any given basketball game is not really fun to look at. It feels kind of like static. The best way I'd phrase it is like, there was this criticism that Horikoshi and My Hero got like a while back, right?
Hmm.
Was that like My Hero Academia fights choreography suck, right? And that's
Right.
not to say that the art sucks, but the choreography's lame.
Right.
In fact, it's widely recognized that My Hero art rocks, and I'm noticing a kind of a similar problem I have, um, like like with Slam Dunk and its art, right? Individual like color pages or volume covers or chapter covers and all that shit, right? Or like very key still moments with expressions and stuff like that looks really good. I mean, Inoue's art style is extremely good looking.
Hmm. He can
But
draw.
it just he can't draw, but it just I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not
Can I
like it.
make,
And
because okay, can I make, not even, this is a lukewarm defense, so like, please like treat it with a lukewarm response, right? Just like, it's not a sentiment that I hold, it's more like a consideration that I think I made, because I noticed something similar about the art, right?
Mhm.
But my understanding was it's less about the basketball and more about like the people. So like, they'll transition to different parts of the game off screen, panel to panel. Like, I remember, I forgot what chapter it was, but like, they'll go from like, all right, we got 4.5 minutes left in this game, and then like 2 panels later, they just sort of do a hard like fast forward, and it's like down to the last two.
Mhm.
So I think like showing the basketball is more of a novelty, or I guess like small expressions of Inoue showing like that he loves the fucking sport, but not uh it's not like Blue Lock where like the sport is what the manga is about. At least, just from my paltry reading of it so far.
I mean,
Again,
I guess you can make that
extremely
argument.
lukewarm. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just treat it with a lukewarm response. That can be said about anything looking visually boring. Like, okay, JJK isn't about the fights; it's about the characters, right? Yeah, sure. Like that's almost every story is about its characters,
I
right?
mean,
Like I would say
would
Blue Lock is about its characters. It
true, yeah.
just telling it through the vehicle of sports. But the problem is when you're delivering me these like moments visually through this sport, yeah, you can say it's more of a character study, and that's fine, right? But that doesn't mean that like, okay, let me put it like this. And this is something I've seen like that I think maybe hits a little bit easier, right? Movies a lot of times are about telling a story, they're about conveying a plot and like getting the characters and themes across, right?
Right.
However, if your movie looks shitty, that is something to criticize regardless. Is
Okay.
that fair?
Right. Yeah.
And let me just add some context. It's not to say Slam Dunk looks shitty, but the games do not, or they're not fun to read in the sense that like watching them play basketball is my least favorite part of Slam Dunk. And because that happens for decent stretches of the manga, it is something worth bringing up. It is
I
like a
see.
continuous like sort of prevailing thing. It'd be like if Blue Lock didn't look fun to in terms of like action and shit like that.
Okay. All right. I got you. I got you. I mean,
Yeah.
I can definitely see an argument for that either way, because, like, for me, um, all those panels explaining what's going on are more important than like seeing what's going on, because I don't have any experience with the sport.
Mhm.
So my priorities, I guess, are different when I read it, because like for Blue Lock, I at least had a basic understanding of like how soccer worked, as far as like, and this is just my sports ignorance, so like, I'm gonna tell y'all to brace yourself now, all right? Just just be patient with me here, okay? I
Mm.
can't conceptualize how players take the like the ball away from each other in the sport of basketball in the same way as like football. Jesus Christ, soccer. Whew. Sorry, I didn't mean to like do treason just now, but like you kick the ball and you run in front of it like faster than the other guy. I can sort of get it, right? But like something
Mm.
about like, so can you just like yank the ball out of his hand? Do you need to like volley it out and then like dribble it out? Is there like a rule about like transferring like the ball, or like not like taking it in a way that doesn't foul him? Can he hold on to the ball while you're trying to take it, and then like you both fall, and then like, he's just like technical foul? Like there's a lot of fouling stuff too that it was neat for Seguri's like progression, right? Like his personal like understanding of the sport. But for me, it was
Mm.
like, are they just okay? Like I, I like it's not it's interesting, but I don't know how to feel about it as like a facet of the game being played, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Are
that's,
you
yeah,
okay?
difference
Fair.
in perspective.
For sure, for sure. I mean, the reason I just say that is because like I don't think I've read a sports manga that I like have at such like tens. Like most of the sports manga I read, I generally have like a 10 out of 10 opinion of. Like Hajime no Ippo and Blue Look don't officially have 10 rankings for me just because they're not over. But in all of those manga, the like I think Slam Dunk is mostly on track to kind of like fulfill those similar vibes, right? If it continues the rate of improvement it has had, and kind of like steadily increases like that. The comedy is always going to be a miss for me, and I can see that holding it back from like reaching those peaks. But another thing is just in Haikyuu and Hajime no Ippo and Blue Lock, the action is just depicted very fun. It's interesting to read. I know nothing about volleyball, but like things were able to track pretty nicely. In Haikyuu specifically, of course. I was able to understand what's going on, and most importantly, it was fun to look at. But with
Mm,
Slam Dunk, I think it if I am bored or like not upset. Upset is crazy because it's not really upset. It's just disinterested during the basketball games, which are essentially the fights of a sports manga,
mm-hmm.
right? Then I think we have a problem, right? It'd be like if I went into every JJK fight and I'm like, yeah, the characters are good and the buildup is good and some of the dialogue's good, but like I just kind of hate every time they start throwing hands. It just looks ass. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just one of those things.
No, I
Um,
I think I'd get that, but it's funny you mention that because like weirdly the best like the most engaging visuals in the fucking series were an actual fight.
yeah,
Like dude, that
and
shit
I
was raw.
yeah yeah for sure, definitely
It's like, yeah,
some cool shit.
bring that to the court, bro. Like, please.
Like I just think I someone said that the like kind of the choreography picks up a little bit in the later portions of the series, and considering that like Inoue has the base abilities in terms of art, like he just started off pretty cracked. I'm not like that is not like a very surprising concept to me, and I could definitely see that for sure. Now Testro asked us this in chat. Um, but like he wants to know because he dislikes Mitsui. So like, how do you feel about him? And then
Um,
yeah, kind of explain your thoughts. Long-haired guy,
yeah, yeah.
shooter. Okay.
I hated Mitsui, and then I absolutely loved him by the end. Like by we stopped at chapter 100.
Yep.
Uh, I think like him getting his like moment in the sun was very like rewarding to me. The thing about the 5 points and like how petty he was,
Mhm.
like bro, he was like taking like he pulled his pants up and ran after them from the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like that shit was
Yeah.
personal,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and I loved.
I will
Yeah,
say Mitsui's just like, I mean, Testro was like, he's a bad person, and I'm like, yeah, dude, Sakuragi just like beats people up and shit, and like he's a delinquent or whatever. It's like he's finding himself through basketball.
mm,
The same thing, like Mitsui lost himself when he stopped playing basketball. Right,
mm,
cool. Became a bad guy, delinquent, whatever, whatever. And guess what? He finds himself through basketball again.
yeah,
Like I think it is just an
The
engaging thing to
right.
read about. And
I want to
yeah,
play basketball moved me.
yeah, it definitely did the same for me as well. And it's just like, I don't know, being a bad person doesn't even disqualify you from being a good character. And I feel like he's kind of
I am
um
like
yeah,
I like villain to hero arcs. I'm a sucker for it. I'm a Zuko boy. So it was nice to see Mitsui's switch up.
yeah. Overall, I guess I share a very similar sentiment. Um
Also, Rutonian, thank you for the two. Do y'all think Sukuna used domain amplification to block purple? Probably. Or he just really reinforced himself because he was at full strength. So,
mhm.
the initial hollow purple, like the 200% hollow purple. Um, so,
Mm.
do you think he used
Do we
domain?
do we still think probably not.
Right? Yeah. I
Um
just thought he either dodged it narrowly or he just like amped himself
I
to
think
yeah
I think he probably avoided it after it hit his arms and stuff.
yeah.
Domain amplification would obviously be able to like weaken it and shit, but it's not. He would still probably take too much damage for
Yeah,
him to care
I mean,
for.
he probably did something similar to what Hikari did with a binding vow at the last minute to sacrifice his arm, because like I'll just regrow it.
Maybe. Um, it's possible. The only thing that goes against like domain amplification purple is just it's about the output of the ability. If he can't even negate like a high level blue or red with not at least completely with domain amplification, it follows that he can't do that to an even lesser extent with purple, right? So if red still damages him when he uses the technique negating ability, then purple will still damage him probably to like that much more, which maybe you can make the argument, well, that's why his arm's disintegrated, and it's possible, but it's not necessary. He could have avoided it. He could have done a bunch of other things, but I guess it is one of those things that you can leave as an open ability.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, Overall, I think Slam Dunk is really picking up for me. I think if the rest of the series is hitting like the same way those last 50 chapters hit, then it's gonna. I think we're locked in for a more pleasurable reading experience overall. Knock wood.
for sure, because I was definitely worried. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
20 chapters in, that shit was stinking. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Garbage, bad, smelly,
Yep.
doo doo. Picked up a little bit, right? Got more interesting, and then it really picked up after that. So I'm excited about that.
Right.
Um, and like, yeah. I guess real quick for Mikey, I guess for Liv 2 and for Tessero, just real quick,
All
right?
right. All right.
For yeah. I'll give you my for all the Boruto haters, just calm down. It's gonna be like 30 seconds. I will give Boruto this, right? I'm a Boruto hater myself, right? I hate it. I don't like the art. However, this time skip chapter was relatively good, all things considered. Um, I think this combined with the word Boruto left off beforehand probably like I get signs of it getting better. At least in terms of like storytelling and stuff like that. Boruto looks pretty cool. And I mean, if I can be honest with you guys, I don't rock with Kawaki style as much, but right, who cares? Boruto looks solid. His introduction to the story was solid. I don't really like Sarada as a character all that much, but I will see the bar about her role model being Naruto and not Shikamaru. I rock with that. That was cool. Code's still a goober. He's still an absolute bum, right? But those are kind of my thoughts. A lot is gonna be TBD, I guess. Ikimoto's art still Ikimoto's art, right? But yeah, overall Boruto was it was more solid than not. It was more fun than like not fun, I guess.
Well, I'm
Which is
glad you
which
got
is
that
good.
out of your system. Um,
Sure. Sword tax hitting, yes sir. Like what, like let's not even like come on now. Let's not pretend we don't know why I really like the chapter, guys. Boruto has a sword now, all right.
God.
He has a sword. He has a cape, all right. Capes and swords. Who does that remind you of in Naruto? I leave it there. Code getting the Renji treatment, bro. I don't know if Code has actually won any fight ever. I'm not gonna lie to you. Code is an absolute loser, moving like creams for real.
Rolled
But
my
yeah.
eyes.
Anyways,
Bro, I don't even
oh
get the
damn, you're still
reference,
here.
bro.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Code just a loser who gets beaten up by toddlers, like unironically.
Well,
Um,
good for him. Anyway, so did you want to rank the Boruto chapter or rate it? Before we like.
yeah, like 6.5, 7. That was solid. was cool.
Nice, nice.
Um,
Um,
uh,
Overall, I think I give this session of Slam Dunk, like the last from chapters 50 to 100, like a solid 8 for me. Very enjoyable.
yeah, yeah, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I'd
Yeah.
give it an 8 out of 10. If it can
Cool.
improve on the actual in-game stuff, we can start cooking.
Mm.
We can start really coming through.
Yeah. Now let's talk about a
Um,
real sports manga. All right.
I'm glad you said that, bro. Um, let's
Okay.
talk about Blue Lock.
So Blue Lock chapter dropped. It like I don't know about you, bro, but like jokes aside, the dissonance between everything going on in Blue Lock, the entire like conceit of the plot, the premise, and the characters,
Mm-hmm.
it always feels like a tone shift whenever you see Snuffy's fucking backstory because like the mangaka just like it's sort of like a reminder he can draw other things than just like menacing auras and soccer balls. Bro, like why is it's so dark? It's like hilariously sad how let me rephrase. The execution is so good, right? Like the art, the storyline, like all this shit about like Snuffy's personal journey, that shit hits so unbelievably hard, but the story is so disproportionately sad and dark to everything else going on in the story because even at the most like depraved Blue Lock gets, which I think up until like the Snuffy's backstory thing was Shida like fighting people and being in a straitjacket, you know? It's just kind of crazy to see that.
I forgot about Hiyori's backstory. But I do agree it's a tone shift.
Um,
You know, I heard that thing you do whenever you're disagreeing, but like I do agree. Like this is probably one of the two more serious kind of backstories we've gotten. And I think it's fitting because I think Hiyori's gonna have a pretty big moment in this game, or a pretty big contribution, whatever you want to call it.
mhm.
I think this chapter was solid. Snuffy's like a fraud or whatever, and that's cool. But I think this did like the mangaka was not unaware of what he did to Snuffy's character, so he said, "Hold on, all right, hold on, that's cool, but I gotta reel you guys back in. You know what I mean? Like I can't let you guys listen. I know what I did, right? I know I made Borrow win and Snuffy lose, but we're gonna have to try this again. We're gonna have to take it from the top, and I'll say he did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
I think Snuffy's character is pretty solid. Borrow got his fucking feral celebration. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of the chapter, Isagi hating in the final panel.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Bro,
That's what we love to see, a spiteful king hating on another player's success.
Yep.
That's how we know Isagi's locked in, bro.
Bro,
He's hating.
the scrub line had me in stitches. I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, dude. They're on the field. They're probably cursing each other out. Like, I'm
Instead of this once and for all
it,
scrub. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like Isagi, don't let him say that shit to you, bro.
uh,
Don't let him
I
don't
will
let him
say,
say that, bro. Don't let
I
him say
really
that.
enjoyed seeing Borrow's softer side this chapter. It didn't present that way, right? You have to like get into the subtext, roll up your sleeves, and dig around a little bit, but it's there. Where he's like, so you better not retire. You and I still have a square to settle. I was like, that's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's cute. Bar doesn't want him
Um
to retire. Whether or not that's to surpass him, or whether or not it just like Snuffy's story got to him, or this is Barrow expressing what others call empathy. Who knows? Who knows?
Probably the first one. But
What was the
in
first
any
one?
case, to surpass him.
Right.
Um yeah, this was a great chapter. I mean, Blue Lock missing don't really make sense together. Um yeah, real sports manga, right? Real intense shit, peak. I'll give this like a 9.5. Does this one have like the normal hype of a Blue Lock chapter, I guess? However, it has like I like it was like entertaining all the way through. It's kind of a continuation of Snuffy's whole thing, and having Borrow be the one to change Snuffy instead of vice versa, kind of a nice twist on how their dynamic was initially presented. Because I think Snuffy is kind of the first character that is, or the first master rather, that has been changed by one of the players, whereas the masters have been doing a lot of the influencing up to this point. Obviously, Noel Noah with with Isagi, and you have Chris with like Nagi and Reo, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So having Snuffy be fundamentally changed by Baro, pretty cool, pretty solid. Yeah, I'm liking this whole little mini arc. I'm ready to get back to my Isagi glazing though, so I'm ready for what these next chapters have in store for us.
Yeah. Um. Cool. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah,
yeah,
not. I said 9.5, right? Yeah,
yeah,
9.5, 9.5 out of 10.
yeah. I give it like a solid 8.59. Yeah.
Cool, 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 cool.
All right. Wow. We actually made pretty good time, all things considered. Um.
Yes, sir.
Let's get into JJK. Um. Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, chapter 232 dropped. Um. So, where do we even start with this one, man? It's the second chapter of the second round of Gojo versus Sukuna,
Mm-hmm.
and the countdown begins until Mahoraga's fully adapted to infinity, and Gojo's just spamming blue. He's not using anything besides blue. He's saving red because he doesn't know like the exact mechanism for like how Mahoraga's adaptation works,
Mm-hmm.
which I want to get into separately, right? But like
Okay.
it really, God, there's so many. Okay, this chapter is difficult because it was such a dominant performance from Gojo from start to finish. Even like at the end, you can argue that like Gojo's not he's not the one losing stock by the last panel, right? He's not the player getting the fucking yellow card.
Interesting metaphor. It depends on how serious you're talking, right? Agenda wise, yeah, Gojo's on top, but in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
actual outcome, I feel like you should be significantly more worried about
Oh
Gojo.
no,
Like, like so,
I fully made my peace with him dying. Like look, I took
not you individually. You're talking about like more stock, right? So I'm just addressing like if it's agenda Kaizen, right? We're just talking about like what's funny and shit.
mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Sukuna, he's catching his Z's, right? He's going to sleep. He's taking a little
Yep.
nap. Gojo sing him a lullaby with that last right punch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we're being serious for a second, which I know is hard to do with this fight for a lot of people, but if we're being serious for a second, Gojo is in a lot worse shape than Sukuna is because Sukuna will wake up from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, one thing that Mahoraga has done that is, we know he's adapted, right? Because he sliced Gojo. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No infinity, none of that, right? Mahoraga, at least to some extent, is like partially adapted to Gojo. We don't know how it reacts to like the actual attacks and stuff, but like it being able to touch Gojo in the first place is a pretty bad sign. The slash itself is not that big of a deal. It is more what that slash represents moving forward. But I think before we talk about that, one thing I want to talk about real quick is I think Gege went into another one of his Gege-isms here,
Mm-hmm.
where like I was expecting to, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing in this context. I think it's fine. But I was definitely expecting like each chapter to give us a wheel spin rather than getting the last remaining wheel spins in one chapter.
Mm.
But we just cycled through all of them, right? The first page starts off with the wheel spinning. We get another wheel spin, like, I don't know, halfway through. And then obviously, assumably so at least, the final one happens towards the end. So I think that happened pretty fast. And I think I should have put this. Gojo and Sukuna are kind of. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. I think this is like all of these chapters outside of their domain. I know I've said this so many times. People are probably getting tired of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just solidified. This type of fighting is a lot more interesting to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
find the use of environment. I find like the creativity that can be applied a little bit better than just like, um, and obviously domain spam is like a very reductive way to explain it, but just for shorthand,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, that's
Domain spam.
like in fairness to like both these guys, right? That is the strongest tool in their arsenal, and the guy on the other end that they're using it on can't really like at full strength. All their other tricks won't really work as well, especially like for Sukuna, right? You're talking about him going into this fight with Gojo at like full power. With Gojo at full power, we're seeing like how much Gojo's rocking his shit, even with the wheel spinning, right? So like the domains work make sense as like the opener. But I'm glad that they did domain before fighting, like fisticuffs style. For a
Mhm.
similar reason as you, I think getting the domains as like the why aren't they using the strongest attacks or like bracing for that out of the way, and getting
Mhm.
into like the sort of so the visual is two guys like two masters of their craft like expending everything, and by the end of it, right, once you take away like all their like bags of tricks and they just have to scrap,
Mhm.
I think that's basically where the fight's going to be settled. And well, that's what I would have said, I think, prior to this chapter. um
Mhm.
so before we get into like the funny stuff, because I really cannot understate how like the community's reaction to a chapter of JJK has never quite been as like visceral in a funny way like this before, right? It's been like sometimes I'll see like very intense negativity or very intense positivity from the fan base, but never like intense is the word resentment, like is that like the emotion you would ascribe to the sentiment with the JJK base right now?
Just intense clowning.
Clowning, yeah, right. That's but it's okay.
I mean, I feel like we should get that out of the
Yeah.
way and then talk
Uh.
about the more serious stuff first,
So
or
yeah.
serious stuff
Yeah.
afterwards.
Okay. So King Nacho, thank you for
Um,
the 5. Street saying Sukuna padded stats in weaker era. Hayden era filled with plumbers. Shake
yeah.
my head.
Listen, if you're not in, man, that shit is so much funnier if you're in fucking like basketball talks. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, bro. This is what Jordan versus LeBron looks like right here, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. Nah, but yeah, I mean, listen, bro.
Who's who?
Getting put to sleep mid fight is crazy. Bro said I need to take some time to recharge. That's nuts. That's wild.
Like,
Um,
bro. You can tell from the title of this podcast, right? Like we're not above joining in on the clowning, because like,
not at all.
bro, his eyes went
Um,
white. Like the crown fell off his head and did a little clank clank. Like this is your goat. Like this is the king of curses. Like the more like the king of frauds, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just like making my way through through chat right now. The slept one, night night. I alone am the sleeping one. Now, bro,
yeah.
Fraudkuna sleeping on the floor like a hobo while the true king of curses, Mahoraga, is boxing Gojo. Dude, that has been my favorite thing to come out of this so far. Oh my god, the Mahoraga is the real king of curses shit is fucking sending me.
Throughout the blankets and the pillows, I alone in the sleepy one. Jesus Christ.
Oh my
But
god.
yeah.
Fra-
Yeah, I mean the agenda has definitely been something to behold. One thing I do kind of want to talk about is like I'm curious what chat and what like your thoughts are on it, because I've been seeing some conflicting things, and I kind of not kind of I do understand it at a base level. Is like the do you think the fraud stuff, the like agendas are making it like, and I don't mean like in general discourse like less fun,
mm.
like to talk about the fight.
Yeah, I remember talking to Mikey about this, and you, but the sentiment that I have is like, there's layers to it, right? Anybody who's
Hmm.
genuinely having this like very visceral reaction, to Sukuna fighting like he um, is a just really invested in the story, and that's like to be amended. Gege's doing his job, right?
Hmm.
So that's something to be happy about. But on a on a more serious note, if your rational brain doesn't kick in, and it's like this fight, like the result of this fight was almost always predetermined for Gojo to lose, because this like the story literally cannot function if he wins, right? So it's not so much about like if Gojo's going to lose, but like how, and like the mechanism for Sukuna's like defeat and everything moving after. That's like the big question mark, right? That is not so easily predicted, and I think losing sight of that and thinking something like Gojo's actually going to win, it's a bit rough, right? It's a bit of a proposition, right? To like like
Bro said you're delusional if you think Gojo's
I
gonna
mean,
win. Chat,
come
I
on,
personally wouldn't take that.
but like for
I
real,
personally
like
wouldn't take that.
you know what I'm talking, like when we spoke about it, you agreed for what it's worth.
I mean, I think that Sukun is gonna win. Do
Yeah,
I think you're delusional if you think Gojo is? I don't know if those two are the same
it's
thing.
not.
Um,
Come on, man.
Hey, listen, bro. That's you. Like, listen. You don't need me to back up every play. Like, I mean, I understand from a certain point of view. I'm just someone who thinks Sukun is gonna win, right? I think it makes more sense
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah. The two aren't
Um,
mutually exclusive. I'm a hater. Fine, fine, fine.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But yeah, like I think so. I will address it from the standpoint of someone, um, like who can simultaneously find the joke somewhat enjoyable, but also can find them extremely like annoying and grating. They are annoying to the extent of you can no longer have conversation about the fight in a general sense. Like you can have it with certain people if you know about JJ. Like I can talk to Liv or Tess, maybe not Tessera. Tessera might be, or like Cream. No, Cream's not either. Y'all two Gojo-fied. I can talk to Liv and I guess like some select few Twitter people about the fight in like a more of an interesting sense. But I do think that the annoying part is sort of that when you when you're reading these chapters, like as someone who probably knows what the discourse is looking like, your reactions can almost get tied up in, oh fuck, what is the discourse gonna look like more than oh fuck, what are the like stakes and implications of this within the story? Which
mhm.
I've seen a lot of people like mention because I think people like to pretend that they don't care about like fan bases or like, oh my god, who cares? The story exists in a vacuum. And like, yeah, if you existed in a vacuum, right, or you read the story devoid of like community and shit like that, yeah, that works, right? But misconceptions are annoying or like bullshit amongst the community that is generally accepted can get annoying, right? It's why people have like these arguments back and forth. So I can see how the community kind of turning what is supposed to be the like most climactic fight of the story thus far into a joke. I could see that messing up somebody wanting to go into this super seriously. So I get it. I will say though that I think you just have to find like a crowd of people that kind of have a similar mindset, which there are a ton of people out there
Mhm.
like that. And you kind of just have to like either acknowledge that most of the people that are saying this are joking or they're just like dumb. You know what I mean? If you're really looking at Sukuna and being like, "Oh my god, bro, he's really like he's actually just weak for losing to Gojo." It's like, "Well, hold on, guys. First of all, right? Fight ain't over, right?
Mhm.
The bell ain't ring yet, right? But like second of all, let's say Sukuna does lose. What does that mean? Where does that put him, right? That puts him alongside everybody else. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, someone has to be the strongest sorcerer alive, right? It
Right.
has to be one of these two characters, at least for the time being.
Right.
So, like, Gojo losing does not make him a bum, right?
Mhm.
Sukuna losing does not make him a fraud, right? It just means that these characters are a number two in a universe where their opposing forces are like Gojo has spatial manipulation to an atomic level. Sukuna has been alive for like 1,000 years and can body hop, right? Like
Mhm.
these aren't regular motherfuckers. Like you have people coming back hundreds of years after their death in order to fight one of these guys. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
And
they aren't
like
normal.
on that note, right? Getting into the topic you and I discussed, like privately, it was like nothing about how this fight will end, right? Like assuming Gojo loses, right? Will take away from his standing as the strongest guy in JJK, right? I think I can confidently say that. I think anybody will confidently say that. I don't know about you, kind of a Gojo hater, but like most people will say Gojo's retained his status as the strongest after this fight because the big fear was Gege's gonna like his fucking Gojo hate was gonna like kick in and he was just gonna make him lose chapter 2 of this fight. But I think Gege's done a really good job of maintaining Gojo's like presence or his status as the strongest sorcerer in history prior to inhabiting to Sukuna inhabiting Megami's body, right? I think
Mhm.
what this chapter shows more than any other chapter so far in this fight, because I said it a few times, but this one really cements it, right? If this was Heinen era Sukuna or Sukuna in Yuji's body, Gojo would drag that man across the fucking parking lot. Like he really like the Ten Shadows really is like especially in Sukuna's hands extremely busted and like an excellent way to fight against Gojo specifically, right? I think anybody can say like with the exception of Megana specifically, like Gojo is undisputedly the strongest, right? I think that's a fair takeaway from this chapter.
Sure. Um, yeah. let's see, Jerome Simmons. Let me run through the super chats real quick
Yeah.
because I don't know if you've read them in a while.
No.
Last one was King Niger, right? Sleeping Danger. Thank you for 35. Probably just a me thing, but first Black Flash 100 plus chapters didn't hit the same. I will talk about that in a second because I 100% agree with you.
Mm.
Jerome Simmons, thank you for the 70. He called Gojo a normal guy, mocking him for being boring when he was not around, and gets humiliated
Yep.
more than once.
100%, bro.
Um,
Like Sukuna's trash talk during this
sure.
fight has not been holding up. Like every time he gets cocky, he gets checked, and like on some Gojo fan like dick riding shit, real quick, right? The way Sukuna just cannot back up any of his trash talk is like slowly getting to me because he's such a loser. He's such like okay,
And this is the part where I think people can justifiably get annoyed because we start omitting information that's in the fight. You know what I mean?
like
We
I
start forgetting shit. We start forgetting dialogue, right? We start forgetting Gojo being like, "I'm about to one shot
got
you
you.
with
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
domain."
No, no,
Like
no. It
we
goes both
and
ways.
listen,
It goes
it's
both
cool,
ways,
it's
right?
cool,
But
right?
like
But it's just like nobody has killed the other person yet, right?
true.
So as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, nobody's shit talk has meant anything. Whoever wins, they got the shit talking rights.
All
But
right,
like
all right.
Gojo has been like, I'm gonna tear you apart. I have no problem killing Megami's body. Blah blah. I'm gonna rip
Mm-hmm.
out your heart and your lungs. And here's the thing, we could say, oh yeah, but like Sukuna has the 10 shadows. That's true, right? If you want to put an asterisk on that, that's fine. But Gojo was saying all of this knowing what the 10 shadows is,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like Gojo said this and then Megana popped up. Like he's not confused. He
Yeah.
said this shit knowing the arsenal. So it's like, yeah, Sukuna shit talking, he's getting checked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. There are just as many examples of Gojo talking shit and being cocky and not being able to live up to it. You know what I mean? Because they're just going back and forth and not having killed each other.
That's true. Yeah, like you're not fair. Um, but like I said, I got my Gojo hate dick riding blinders up, so it was a little hard for me to
And, I,
see.
and listen, I get it. I get it. Agendas can blind me as well, right? I think the reason I can sympathize with a lot of people more is because I'm not like hot take, I guess. I'm not like a Gojo dick rider, right? Like I'm not like you. I'm not
Bro,
like Tessero,
he's
right?
right
I'm more of
there,
like a
like next to me in the picture. Like, come on, I know what I'm about.
um
I know who I am.
yeah, but yeah, for sure, bro. But like what I'm saying is like I like Gojo, he's a cool character or whatever. I like Sukuna, he's a cool character or whatever. But because I don't like ride for either of them, I feel like I have my biases because of who I think's gonna win for sure. But I don't have like a I want this person to win bias. You know what I mean? And that's what makes some of the things interesting because Sukuna fans like to kind of to argue to your point, Sukuna fans will act like there is nothing different about him getting the 10 shadows versus being in Yuji's body, and like, well,
Lit-
that's absurd. That's
no, that's
stupid, right?
insane. That's literally how he's still in the fight.
Yeah. Um, and like obviously you can go back and forth. Like both sides can be very annoying about it, but I just do think the general thing is, I mean, to me it's Gojo getting his comeuppance. Like Gojo kind of dominating the second half of the fight makes sense because as far as I'm concerned, Sukuna was winning the first half of the fight,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
it seems like Sukuna was kind of having the advantage and then the flip was switched, it got more even, right? And now the tables are turning at least up to this point in Gojo's favor. Gojo's been kind of cooking him. Gojo's been putting the works on him. Gojo's been hitting him with some crazy combinations, right? Like I just think I think talking shit and getting hit is just something you have to expect from two of the strongest sorcerers alive. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, it just so happens that Gege drew Sukuna a little bit more embarrassingly in some of these
Yeah.
moments, right?
I mean, it doesn't help that like by the end, Mahoraga is auto summoned like he's a fucking Pokemon. Cause
Mm,
let's call a spade here, right? Whether
yeah.
intentional or not, the comedic timing of Gojo landing a black flash, the crown falling off, and his eyes going white, and nap time. The
Hmm.
little dial is going, and it's singing him a lullaby, and then Mahoraga like protecting him. It is, I saw this edit on TikTok, right? And
Hmm.
there's two I want to talk about in particular. There's like the most popular one, and then there's the one I'm talking about right now. So this one, that scene in Bleach where Urihime is asking Ichigo to wake up after Ukiura blows a hole in his chest, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Save me, Ichigo!" Right?
Oh, nah, bro. Don't give people ideas.
So somebody took that clip, right, and edited it to Mahoraga and Sukuna.
Hmm.
Bro, That shit had me on the floor. Fucking Sukuna being like, Mahoraga, save me, please. And fucking, like, Mahoraga Ichigo awakening. That shit had me on the floor. That's basically what Gege did this chapter, right? It was just like, it's very hard to take Sukuna seriously, for chapters like these, because at least when Gojo was on the back foot, it felt like, oh shit, he's gonna die. It felt like a lot more serious, right? Like his life was in danger, right? Like he was getting pieced up literally and, you know, metaphorically. But with Sukuna, it's like, Mahoraga, please tag in. And
I guess so.
like it's not a good portrayal.
I mean, hey, bro. Like, I clowned you for your lack of commitment to Gojo earlier, so like, I can't blame you. I think you're dick riding, right? But
You didn't find it
like,
funny?
I'm not mad at it. Well, I guess the thing is, like, I don't know if you're being serious when you say like that you feel like there's a difference in portrayal of how they're like on the back foot or whatever.
No, 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 no.
Um,
I think this is just like he was on the back foot, he's on the back foot, but I think like one is just it lends itself better for memes than the other one.
mm,
Like I remember
sure.
like like there were still some edits going around when Gojo got like that neck slice. I remember people just like editing it to like have his whole head be cut off or something. And
Mhm.
Gojo with the glasses or whatever, but nothing really has hit the fucking JJK manga week to week zeitgeist like Sukuna and clown makeup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Gojo's PR team is fucking working wonders. They're honestly the real heroes here. But Sleeping Danger, thank you for the 14. So you're gonna finna wake up and act like nothing happened? That's exactly what he's about to do. Like, why would you fucking acknowledge that shit?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Jerome Simmons, thank you for the 140. People suddenly don't care about the story. I guarantee that when Gojo loses, the hate will be real. I'm a Gojo guy, but I understand the story matters.
Mm,
But both people are stuck in their ways on both sides. It gets stupid. I can kind of agree with that.
yeah.
Um,
I definitely
thank
think.
you for the need
Yeah.
money go back on God. Yes, sir, bro.
Like I just think it's sort of the name of the game. With
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of like, listen, I'm not going to call myself a genius or whatever, right? But I called this back in the first chapter of the fight, right? But, you know, anybody could have called that. You know what I mean? It's a pretty simple call.
Uh,
Um,
but yeah, like
but yeah.
um, I look.
I want to talk about this real quick.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
want to talk about this real quick. Unless you had a
No.
topic in mind.
I was just gonna say the other edit I saw was the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse one.
Hmm.
Domain
Oh yeah,
extension Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, save me Mahoraga. Dude, fucking unironically peak editing. That shit I bookmarked that on TikTok. I was top 5 video I saw on that platform.
for sure, for sure, for sure. I will say this, right?
Hmm.
And call me a hater. No, in fact, this is like, because I was thinking, I'm like, damn, am I gonna get called like a Sukuna dick writer, bro? That's not what I want. I don't want that on my resume. But I realize this is for the Gojo fans, right? Y'all deserved better for a Black Flash, if I can be real.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
like, I feel like we haven't seen a Black Flash in like exactly 100 chapters, right? Last one we saw was Yuji's versus Mahito's. This is the Black Flash from, depending on what you think, the strongest character alive, right?
Hmm.
I needed some more sauce. I needed some more sauce, bro. I
Um,
feel like, I don't know. I just feel like there are like one or two Black Flashes that have hit less hard, but Gojo shouldn't be like a bottom three Black Flash to me. I feel like Gojo is more deserving of that in terms of like what that shit's supposed to look like.
uh,
Personally,
I
I just remember reading it and feeling like very
I mean,
underwhelmed.
okay. Some miscellaneous defenses. You can. I don't know what temperature they'll be at. Right. I'm kind of like cooking as I say them. All right.
Hmm.
Um, this might not be the only one he hits. Is like the most obvious one, right? This because like he's now in the zone.
Sure.
Number two, if you include the 120% of their potential, like while being in this statement to be true, then next chapter should be like 120% Gojo against Mahoraga theoretically.
Hmm.
And number three, um, this is sort of like me half agreeing with you. My main problem with the depiction of the Black Flash is that I don't know if it was like regular or if it was also amped by blue in addition to being a Black Flash, which I've seen a lot of people like talk about. Myself, you know, it was one of the thoughts I had. Is this like a super Black Flash? And if yes, it makes it more unimpressive because Sukuna is still standing. You know, like
Yeah. I mean,
it's
I'll put it like this.
mm,
I'll put my reasoning like this, right? And I could be wrong, but nobody knows if they can hit a Black Flash or not, right?
Right.
It's not something that even Gojo should be able to count on. We have the narration statement for that. And Gojo is trying to put Sukuna down. And we know that he typically imbues his punches with blue, right? So my line of reasoning is just, why would he not? Like, what leads us to believe he wouldn't be? You know what I mean? To me, I basically assume Gojo's always using blue to amp his punches. Like, that's
Right.
it's almost like assuming someone's using cursed energy kind of thing, where it's like, for Gojo, it's a given,
Yeah.
personally.
So in that respect, right? If like next chapter he's like, when you use Black Flash, your innate technique goes away because Black Flash is superior. I'm like, okay.
Nobara did it with a technique. That's not true.
I'm trying to give an example of like how it would be excused, not like serious speculation on it, but like
Oh, okay.
yeah. So like that could be like a plausible reason I think I would accept as to maybe why it didn't look so impressive. But if it was like it was a Black Flash amped by blue, his organs are like turned into liquid, I'm like, hmm, all right. That's I feel like that could have been shown better. Like if
Yeah,
you
something
know,
like that.
yeah.
Like I think so. I was talking to Tester about this specifically, right? But I was like, this is in terms of now. Granted, the opponent is much higher, right? So
Mm,
like, this is more. This is talking about more portrayal than like. This is in terms of raw power, probably the strongest Black Flash we've seen on screen, right?
right.
Like that's not the thing. The thing is, this is one of the only examples we've seen of a Black Flash where somebody just stays there and their body composition remains the same,
Yeah,
right?
cuz like
Mahito got sent flying.
mhm.
Yuji bounced off a fucking ceiling,
Yeah, dude,
right?
didn't Yuji blow out like was it
He,
Echizu's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, he blew off his fucking torso,
Yeah.
or he blew off like his arm or some shit.
Yeah.
And like, it's fine, right? Sukuna is obviously more durable, but Gojo's stronger too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of so it's like the one page is like it's cool, like it's not bad. I'm just like, I feel like Gojo's Gojo, right? It would have been now. I don't want to talk about another issue, not an issue, because it's not like it's a problem. It's just something I would have wanted more. Like my greed is taking over, right? The thing is just scale. I would have just loved for this fight, and I say loved as in like as if the fight's over, but it seems Gege is kind of trying to remain like very small scale with it, or relatively so. It would have been so sick to have a Black Flash send him across the fucking like on some like what Sukuna did to Yuji type shit, right?
Yeah,
Where this
yeah.
motherfucker just goes flying. Because to me, like a Gojo Black Flash should feel real. It should be
Yeah.
visceral, right? It should like it should I should see Sukuna get hit and then just explode across the city and
Yeah.
he's just fucking
I think like
yeah, you
what I
know what I
want
mean?
what I would have wanted for the Black Flash. You remember that double spread he did in the same chapter with Red hitting him from behind? Something like
Mm-hmm.
of that art level, right, for the Black Flash because it wasn't unsatisfying, but it wasn't quite up to the same standard as like this crazy double spread of Red hitting him from the back, like Gojo cocking back his fist and like launching at him. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely like the payoff didn't match the setup kind of flash here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not bad. It's not one of those bad things. I
Yeah.
just feel like the Black Flash from the strongest could have been
Yeah.
the coolest up to this point, and
Yeah.
maybe you would bar Yuji's because he has so many at bats,
Mhm.
right? But I think like Toto had a cooler Black Flash.
Yeah.
I think like Mahito had a cooler
But
Black
like
Flash, like that type of
yeah,
thing.
but again, this is also assuming he doesn't get like in the zone and like because like Nanami's
Sure.
able to hit four in a row, you know what I mean? Like there's no reason to think this is
Listen,
a
Gojo ain't no Nanami, bro. I'm
I
gonna be real with
don't
you.
even know what to say to that, bro. I
I mean, Gojo's not built like Nanami. Like, what? Do you disagree?
dude, don't backtrack. You're a notorious Nanami hater. It's okay. We've talked about it. We're willing to accept you.
Do
They're
you think
willing to
no,
accept
no?
you.
I mean, am I saying something incorrect? Is Gojo built like Nanami?
You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
No, 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 I don't. I'm kind of confused. Like I feel like I'm saying something very, very simple.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Um,
Just you
I,
like
I mean, are they built the same? Like, do you think the same of Gojo as you do Nanami?
no.
Okay, good. Me neither. Like, I'm glad we agree. Now time to go to the super chats.
You're
Jerome Simmons to give it to
you're an
35.
exhausting guy.
Black Flash should have blown his chest away. Was a bit dull. It doesn't even have to. It doesn't even have to do all that. I just want like a double page spread would have been nice. But maybe
Yeah.
we'll get to see more. So I'll. Dreams brings up a good point. I will put a pin in that. Right.
Yeah.
King Nija. I don't know if you mentioned this. Thank you for the 5.
But
Seriously, the
yeah.
fact that Sukuna didn't vaporize from having Red hit him in the back and push him into the Black Flash and some insane durability. That is also true.
Yeah.
Um,
But also Red isn't really doesn't really have a vaporizing effect. Like in the times it's been used in the series, it's done less vaporization than it has just like
Which
a
just means he should. I think vaporize is a bit of hyperbole as to
okay.
like how
Because
much damage he should have taken.
because like it's a reasonable assumption to like look at red and assume it's sort of like it would vaporize or have like a heat effect. It's sort of like the Cyclops is like from X-Men, like the thing with his eyes where people think it's like heat vision, but it's just like a
Hmm.
concussive blast. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's similar with red in that respect,
Hmm.
where I can see somebody thinking because of the way red looks that it would be like some kind of heat ray or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you handle the super chats. I gotta use the
Mm,
bathroom real quick.
cool. Let's see. M3D, thank you for the 5. Y'all agree that Black Flash should have done more damage. Gojo was punching holes in Sukuna's chest before, but this time it should have went all the way through. 100%, dude. That's why, like, I think I'm not ready to lock in on this being the only Black Flash. I think the last panel, specifically, that close-up of Gojo's face, is sort of meant to be an indication that he's entered the zone and, you know, in existing in, like, the 120% of his potential thing. Obviously not, like, exactly because he still can't use barriers and stuff, but neither can Sukuna. And definitely neither can Mahoraga. So it's probably going to be a case of like, can Gojo, with just his base abilities, amp to 120%, beat a Mahoraga who's already adapted to at least the neutral infinity and presumably blue? I don't know if you guys think Mahoraga's already adapted to blue, but I wouldn't put it past it. Um, Google Me E, thank you for the 5. How can Mahoraga coming out be more intimidating than Sukuna himself? I feel like this fight is more about the Ten Shadows versus Gojo than Sukuna versus Gojo, in my opinion. Okay, so I have two answers for you, right? One is like the agenda answer, because I'm a Gojo agenda-er, and the other one is like a neutral answer, right? So I'm gonna start with like the Gojo, like fan answer, right? The Ten Shadows is how Sukuna is still in this fight. Like, to be perfectly blunt, the fact that Sukuna's fight has lasted this many chapters is only really because of Mahoraga. After they both like burnt out with their domains, if the fight happened the rest of the way, but Sukuna didn't have the 10 shadows, hell, even if like in the final domain he didn't have the 10 shadows, like Sukuna would be laid out on the floor like dead 3 times over by now, right? Like the Mickey Mouse allegations for Sukuna come from the fact that he keeps using Mahoraga specifically, not so much the 10 shadows, like holistically, right? Because I think people wouldn't make this argument if Sukuna was using the other Shikigami, in the same way that he was using Mahoraga, because like obviously Mahoraga's core ability is so busted that it feels, for lack of a better word, unfair, right? So like the fraud allegations come from him like needing Mahoraga to keep being in the fight. The neutral, like, slash more serious answer is when Sukuna absorbed Megami, you can argue this is a point in his favor of having the foresight to know he's probably going to need it to face somebody like Gojo. Because, like, at some point, you know, you can only domain amplify so many times against this guy. And I think it speaks to Sukuna's, like, strategic skill that he's able to foresee, like Gojo becoming enough of a problem, having Mahoraga in the back pocket, you know, training with it a little bit with Yorozu, getting a handle on it, and then using it on like the man himself. And I think once he absorbed Megami, like he's just using his abilities. You know, it's not really cheating because if you're going to the fight with like tools, right? Like you don't get mad at Batman for like prepping for a fight, right? Because like that's his whole
I
shtick.
do.
Shush. But like with Sukuna, right? The fact that he got Megami's body is just more. It is unironically a good intellect feat, a good strat feat, and I guess a good like he's doing whatever it takes to win sentiment. So those are the two sides that I have about like the 10 shadows versus Gojo conversation. Um,
Mm.
I think I caught up to the rest of the super chat, so I'm gonna leave you in BR's hands. I was gonna say capable, but I'm not crazy. Be right back.
Got you. Got you. Cool, cool, cool. So you can also use Megami Soul. He did indeed. He did indeed. Bro, I had to rely on my goat. Um, I had to rely on my goat. Let's see. I'd say he needs Mahoraga since the domain wasn't really doing it to kill Gojo. I mean, until we see what else Sukuna has in his arsenal. I mean, I mean, it's not a crazy assumption to have. This fight feels like a stronger Megami versus Gojo, not gonna lie. I feel a little cheated out of what GIGA promised in chapter 2. I want Hei and Sukuna, not this one. Yeah. I mean, that just doesn't seem like what we're gonna get. To be completely blunt and honest with you. I will say though, like, it's one of those things, like, obviously people care, right? But I say this in like in the conventional sense, I guess. Like, who cares that the bad guy, like, I feel like people get hung up on, yeah, with Hay and Ursu gonna lose, sure. Like, I mean, maybe that's fine. I don't it doesn't really matter. It's kind of the point. Because we know that these sorcerers just grow exponentially based on like strategic things or like decisions to improve themselves. Um, there is a point in which Gojo would have lost to Hei and Sukuna, right? You can cherry pick some Gojo out of the past in order to do that. I would just say, at least if we're talking seriously and we're not doing like the fraud joke thing, Sukuna stealing other people's bodies is just as much like an innate ability or an ability of his as like Gojo using like a domain expansion or some shit. And the reason I say that specifically is because like it's not something you're innately born with, it's something like you develop. The ability to become a cursed object and incarnate into other people is an ability that Sukuna had to learn how to use, right? I'm pretty sure it's implied that Kenjaku, not implied, I think it's outright stated that Kenjaku told him or like showed him how to do it. So he learned how to do it and he added it to his bag, right? I mean, like, I get it because it's definitely less of an upstanding way to go about fighting than just using your own abilities. But becoming a cursed object and incarnating into sorcerers is just a part of Sukuna's bag. Um, like, for example, right? It'd be like getting mad at Gojo for like being able to change the sort of dimensions of his domain just based on prison realm, right? Like Gojo would have lost the fight if he hadn't been in prison realm beforehand. And the reason we know that is because like Kusakabe and a bunch of other sorcerers that are observing just say as much, right? They're like, yeah, it's such a twisted way to learn how to grow or whatever. Like shrinking the domain is the way in which Gojo was able to start like winning or at least clashing with Sukuna more aptly. So it's like, yeah, sure, these sorcerers like what Sukuna is doing is like cheating, I guess, in the conventional sense, but who cares, right? um like I'll put it like this: I didn't really see people calling like Reggie a fraud or like Megami a fraud during their fight. Now granted, I saw people call that fight uninteresting, which hurts my soul, but sorcerers are con men, right? Like that's kind of what it is. Kind of what it is. Um, like it just is what it is. Sukuna is not one to care about. And to be fair, to be completely honest with you, I don't think Gojo is one to care about those sort of things either. If Gojo had the ability to take on another technique or some capacity in order to make his fight easier or like save Megami in a more efficient way, I think he 100% would. He just doesn't necessarily have that like that ability in his arsenal. That's all it is. Um, but yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I feel you, but considering this fight was hyped to be the best and biggest in the series, I feel like having the result of the fight be in contest rather than just being a flat out answer is kind of whack. I mean, we are getting the answer though. Like we're not the question. I feel like because we kind of see Hei and Arasukuna, people are wondering that, and Hei and Arasukuna is an interesting thing to look at in its own right. But I mean, it's sort of like, okay, I'll put it like this, right? That question mark hangs just as much over Sukuna's head as Gojo's because Gojo has developed at least one new thing, which is like the changing of domain dimensions since they like established that fight in chapter 2, right? Both of them have changed, both of them have grown. Sukuna probably more so. I'll 100% give you all that. Like I'm not going to pretend that I don't think Sukuna's like growth or like adaptations, no pun intended, aren't better. But the Gojo of chapter 2 and the Gojo of chapter 232 are different characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? This Gojo has like it's just outright stated. His domain is now better. Like he can now counteract Sukuna's abilities better because he can shrink it because of his time in prison realm,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have both grown and changed. it just is what it is.
Yeah, and also Gojo's new applications of blue and red, I think, were developed specifically in preparation for his fight against Sukuna. You know, the whole special training comment in the month of him getting unsealed and the fight starting.
You
Um,
think he's being serious when he says
uh,
that?
I do, just because of the I don't know if you remember like the initial like feeling each other out hands they did chapter,
Hmm.
where Sukuna and Gojo were sort of sinking into the ground because Gojo was using blue to like control gravity a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's used it that finely before. But the implication was that was what he was doing like to train in that time to like keep
Think
Sukuna.
so.
Yeah, I mean that like that was my reading of it. It could be wrong, right? Like it is
Yeah.
reasonable to assume and that he did do that, and he already like he was just like waffling, right? Um,
Yeah.
or the special training could have been just like, yeah, I've been like punching pictures of Megami, right? Like both are in
Yeah.
character for Gojo, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Chris YT, thank you for the 5. So why the hell Sukuna was saying he would have killed Gojo if he made Yuji's body his? Simply put, he did not know what Gojo's abilities were.
yeah,
Like,
it wasn't
he's
a
talking shit.
yeah. I think Sukuna changed his plan. Probably when he was looking at the domain clash between him and Jogo. I think that's when
I
Sukuna
mean,
was
yeah.
like, "Yeah, I got to hit the drawing board. This kid's body is not enough."
I mean, to be fair, like he was already looking at Megami before then, right? And it's like, yeah, like you can was Sukuna wrong then? Probably. But like, okay, let's be real, right? Gojo said, I could beat Sukuna at full power, right? Well,
Mm.
Sukuna's looking at full power right now, and it's iffy, right?
He's looking
Obviously,
like full power with some surplus.
hey, bro, that's just his full power now. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I mean. Like,
Uh,
that's just where I'm saying, like, I'm saying both of these characters have changed, right? And, like, it is perfectly fine for Sukuna to have been wrong. Yeah, maybe he would have lost then. Like, that's cool. But, like, the conditions have changed and he's changing with them. To me, it'd be like really fucking whack if he was like, but, like you weren't supposed to be able to change your domain. That's not fair. You got better. Like, bro, suck it the fuck up and adapt. Like, what are we doing here? Get better. Like that's literally that's what we've been seeing this whole time. It's just like it's adapt to the shit or you're gonna fucking die. Like,
mm,
I don't know, man.
uh,
I kind of get it, but it's just like to some extent you just gotta like, did we want Sukuna to just get bodied? Is that
yeah,
like is that what we were looking for or what?
yeah.
I'm kind of
Because like the same and like be serious for this thing I'm about to say. So like the people who will say something like Yuji and Megumi aren't are they even the main characters anymore, right? They'll unironically have this opinion and simultaneously say some shit like uh how can
you.
come on man please just all right, but like they'll ironically have the opinion that like Sukuna dying in like the first chapter of this fight is like, and then what, right? You can't hold both of these things simultaneously. You can't want Gojo to win and want Yuji and Ko to like go back into the spotlight because like Sukuna's the guy they have beef with. Like he is their problem, especially Yuji.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think I didn't think listen, somebody said this earlier too. I wish I could remember like your username, but someone kind of had a similar opinion of like this fight isn't top 5 for them yet until they like get a reread of its if it in completion and I'm like I probably agree.
Mm.
I probably agree. But like it's just I think I don't know, man. I think it's like I can kind of get it. I can kind of get it. Like I'm not someone that's wholly content. Like I don't think this fight is perfect, right? I think this is a really good fight.
Hmm.
I could probably bring up some things I'd like to see more, and I can understand somebody wanting to kind of see more of what Sukuna has, like maybe on his own.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, but it's just the thing is, it's just we've known what Gojo's abilities are for a while,
Mhm.
right? What could you do?
I
Like, what could you like? He has infinity, right? You either use a domain, which Gojo has one, and it's been established that they're relatively equal within the context of like the insides, right?
mhm.
Cool domain amplification, so you can't use his techniques, which means most of his lethal options are useless, right? It's like, well, what the fuck? Like, I mean, he has to. There has to be something here, right?
Yeah.
So he went and found the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
That's all it is.
like not to like be a nerd about it, but like Gojo even said it himself, and I think this was Gege saying it through Gojo, but like Sukuna is the challenger. Like this is what a challenger does to prep for like a final boss, right? The guy, like he's not going to admit it. Obviously, it's out of character for him to do so, but like Gojo really is a massive hurdle to overcome on his own, and to not try to like do everything in your power to go win, like trying to win. I feel is it does a disservice to the character Sukuna's been established to be. You know.
Sure. Yeah, and I agree. Michael K, thank you for the 5. Sukuna was interested in Megami as soon as he saw the shadows. It's a huge reach to argue he did all this to take Mahoraga because he needed to be Gojo. I mean, sure, because like he didn't know what Mahoraga's abilities were beforehand. But like, it's very possible that he started like he was just like it's very possible that he wanted to take Megami before he even thought he needed a power up to beat Gojo. Like Sukuna just gives me the vibe of a very opportunistic person. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to take Megami's body for any more reason than just like because he can, and it'd be interesting. I think maybe the planning part probably came post Shibuya.
Yeah.
So
Chris
yeah,
YT, thank you for the 5. Gojo can still lose and be stronger than Sukuna, same way you think Kashimo's stronger than Hikari but lost.
yeah.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there's like if you can add some context of like, you know, Sukuna, like, I don't know, like Gojo's allergic to fucking water or some shit, right? And then they're fighting in a place that has a lot of water. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you would say that the environment is part of the reason. Or if Gojo was like,
But
I'm
also,
gonna
yeah.
hold back my
No,
strongest
ability,
ability, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
refuse to use it. Like, yeah, if Gojo came into this fight and he's like, I refuse to use a domain expansion, and then he lost, yeah, I wouldn't say that Gojo is
Yeah.
necessarily weaker.
But also
Like,
like I already believe like okay, assuming Gojo's defeat, right? Just for this take, right? I already
mhm.
believe Gojo's like already settled that he is in fact the strongest sorcerer in history. Um with the exception of specifically Meguna as like a hard counter to his base abilities, right? So if you think about it on a technical level, right? Gojo would be able to like stomp Mahoraga when it was powered by Megami, right? I think that's everybody would generally agree on that, right? Couple reds, hollow purples, like chop chop, that's all she wrote. But because this is an amped Mahoraga, which I think is if you compare them side by side, Sukuna's Mahoraga does seem to be like bigger and like more beefy. Um
Mhm.
then you have to understand he would beat Mahoraga or Sukuna separately, but an amped Mahoraga while he's also fighting Sukuna, who is also fighting, by the way, very intelligently by putting the crown on his head because he knows Gojo would be able to like easily take him out at full power. So he knows he can bear the brunt of it. Like Sukuna's judgment in this fight is something to like not be ignored either. The guy is making all the right calls with very little like windows of time to think about it that deeply, and that's why he's still like in the fight, right? And
Mhm.
despite all this, like Gojo's still doing what he's doing. So for me, it's like, yeah, Gojo at this point he has nothing left to prove to anybody. He is like this is a specific set of circumstances that's like so tailor made for his defeat that it's almost like him versus the world, and he's basically fighting it to a draw right now, right? Like you know what I mean? Like it is there is if your takeaway from this fight is Gojo is weak, I I don't know if that is I don't know how to be nice about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to be charitable to somebody who has an opinion like that after seeing like everything we've seen so far.
Yeah. And I think I tend to agree. I don't think you should look at either of these characters and be like, "Oh my god, what a bum," because like they would body every other character how they're looking like right now. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Like literally any other character, put them in that first chapter of the fight, dead from either side, bro. Like nobody's tanking the 200% hollow purple. Nobody's like tanking malevolent shrine. Like you know what I mean? It's these guys
Mhm.
are only getting this far, what, like 10 chapters deep into this fight because they are only fighting each other, right? And I think that's like maybe the perception of either combatant is a little skewed because of like the opponent, but I think exchanging any single like player and you're going to get a very different image.
You definitely are. Yeah, you definitely are. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just one of those. I mean, it's bound to happen. The kind of like two sides of it. I will say, like, I knew going into the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, this is not the most interesting fight. I'm interested to see Sukuna in, right? But like, I feel like if you were genuinely having your enjoyment messed up by like the discourse, that's understandable. My best recommendation would honestly be to try to remove yourself from like circles that you know are going to be like that as best as possible, right? Because like it sucks to be like I'm excited for this fight and then you're not anymore because like people are being annoying about it to you or whatever. And I think the best thing to do is just kind of like I do that with like on leak days or shit like that, right?
Tune
Or
it
I
out.
mute. You know,
Yeah.
there are certain accounts, right? There are certain people that I follow that follow me. I will leave them unnamed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are going to permanently be on mute because I hate how they talk about certain manga or I hate how they talk about certain topics in general, right? Like like their approach to talking about it is just generally like it's just not fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if that's like that for you, shit, if that's me or I mean, guys, let's be real, if that's Creams,
Oh my god.
just mute and keep pushing, bro. Because
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, you just want to enjoy the manga you want to enjoy. Like it kind of, I know it sucks to have like that type of shit ruined. If you're not the type of person that can kind of like roll with the jokes, because not everybody can, and that's cool. Yeah, you gotta just avoid them, bro. You gotta just avoid them. Like it just is what it is at that point. I think you just gotta
Yeah.
move past them. Yeah.
100%. Chris Whitey, thank you for the 5. Fun matchup. Gojo versus 10 Shadows versus Sukuna 20 Finger. Gojo plus 10 Shadows versus Sukuna 20 Fingers. Who wins? You can remove the 10 Shadows from Gojo. He'll be fine. Um, two
Yeah, adding Ten
chapters, three
Shadows is
chapters.
crazy.
I don't know. Like basically, like assuming the domains happen the same way, 5 chapters before he takes out 20 Finger Sukuna without Mahoraga. Because like a limited void hits him. Like there's no adaptation, right? Like it just unlimited void hits him. Like and he's not like
Yeah.
Mahoraga is the one who broke him out. So like that is the answer.
Yeah, whatever chapter she kind of got hit by Infinite Void.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
um
yeah, 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 yeah.
so okay. I want to talk about the discussion question from a few days ago that I sent you
Mm.
because I think it's pretty interesting, right? Um, okay, let's see. Uh,
Yeah, let's see. They're elephants dancing on top of ants or whatever Kusakabe said in Shibuya. Yeah, like that.
when did I send this? I feel like I over scrolled. No, no.
One elephant might just be a little bit stronger than the other. Is it bad to say you do or Mahito versus you do throughout Shibuya is better paced and enjoyable than Gojo versus Sukuna so far? No, because that's the best fight in the series. Um,
Uh,
okay, like it's not you're not at least I feel right. You're not crazy for not having this fight as like your top one. I think this fight is missing some components to me that make a peak fight in general, but a peak JJK fight.
I mean,
Um,
do you think a part of the reason that enjoyment is like reduced in some way is because it feels like the outcome of the fight was predetermined? Like,
no, I knew Yuta was gonna win in Sendai. That had nothing to do with it.
interesting. Okay. I mean, it's not a
Yeah,
bad fight. I feel like to make that clear on my end, I'm loving the fight like week to week. It's a great experience.
yeah,
I just
I'm
don't know
fine
if
with the fight too.
yeah, I just don't know if I have it in my top three. Top five
I mean,
definitely.
it may not be in my top five. I'm not sure, but like it, and that in and of itself is not a disservice to the fight, right? It's just like you got to think about it like this for some people's perspective, right? Gojo's not my favorite character. Shugen is not my favorite antagonist.
Mm,
Why would that be my favorite fight?
right.
Like because they're not like the shit talk isn't transcendently good. Blah 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 blah. It's just whatever. Like it's not that big of a deal, right? Even if you're not that big of a fan of a fight, is like if you can provide some critiques, which I think there are plenty to have. I'm gonna be real with you. A lot I don't care about, some I do, right? I think it is what it is in that department. I think this fight is mostly living up to its hype. I think it's pretty fun. But yeah, not top one, top two, top three, top five in some cases. Like that's not crazy. A lot of those fights also have the benefit of like retrospect and like building up that excitement. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
you don't have to. It's not weird. It's that opinion's not weird.
Okay, so I found the discussion question. All right. So,
Okay.
um, assuming Gojo dies, right? That sort of seems more the most likely outcome for this fight, right? Like let's all start there. Cool. Everybody, same
Sure.
page. All right. Okay. So the specifics, right? The finer details are really where I think it gets interesting. So I had this thought a couple days ago, and I want to share it with you all today. Um, the best, um, the best thing Gojo could do, right, in this fight that he's already been sort of doing, is slowly revealing more and more of Sukuna's, excuse me, tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that the Ten Shadows can do, Mahoraga, the timing, the adaptation, Malevolent Shrine, like the details, like a lot of the shit that Sukuna does to surprise people, is like he's taking those cards out of Sukuna's deck, right? The only things he still has to like reveal to everybody, like who's watching Mei's broadcast, is what Open does, and maybe some of the newer unlocked Shikigami, right? Like the deer or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, I think the strongest move Gojo could do if he was to die or get defeated in some way that would really shift the tides of the story and like push it into an arguably more exciting couple fight chapters is killing Mahoraga. So hear me out, right? The Ten Shadows is still a busted technique, but we can agree like at least half of the power comes from Mahoraga like being tamed at this point, right? Specifically in Sukuna's hands. So with that in mind, if Gojo was able to take out Mahoraga and but like the cost of him losing the fight, I think the task of defeating Sukuna becomes infinitely easier. Like it becomes infinitely more realistic as an option, right? I think having Mahoraga off the table might get you to stop sweating for like at least 5 minutes. And
So two things.
okay, yeah,
Two things. The first, well, three things. The first is like probably the most agreeable thing we're on, which is like it makes it significantly easier. I think I agree. If you remove Maharagi, it makes Sukuna a weaker opponent. On that we agree,
sorry,
right?
another factor to consider. Whatever like condition that Sukuna is in at the end of the fight is the condition he's probably going to be like jumped on, right? It's like it's Jujutsu Kaisen, you know what I mean? So like this is a Sukuna who's tanked all of the damage from Infinite Void, the Black Flash, the Reds, the Blues. So like, just want to preface
Maybe.
that, right?
I mean,
Like,
I think it's gonna transition exactly like that. We'll see maybe,
yeah, but generally
but
speaking, yeah. Keep going.
um the next thing is I don't want that to happen personally from a story perspective. I think it'd be because then you're like once you start like eliminating like especially a Shikigami that's been built up for as long as Mahoraga from like someone who I think's coming back, Megami's arsenal, I'm like my eyes just start rolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now even just like you remove that, right? The third problem is Mahoraga will just be absorbed into another Shikigami. And then you'll have a Shikigami that has Mahoraga's traits and some other ability. Just due to the nature of how the Ten Shadows works.
If that's the case, do you think that, like, by your own logic, wouldn't that make the challenge more impressive? Because like you would want like the students to surpass Gojo, right? Like you personally, I mean, like that's a goal you want for the characters involved.
Yeah, that's
So
what I think this story is setting up.
right, so like I think JJK just shows like you evolve through like pushing your limits, right? So there's a chance that like Gege could do it. Like they beat Mahoraga, or like Gojo takes out Mahoraga. They're like fighting Sukuna. They eke out a victory by the skin of their teeth, and that's when Sukuna realizes he can combine the Shikigami, create this giant chimera, including Mahoraga, and then like you know like that's the final boss they face, and maybe some characters die, maybe some characters like whatever. But I think it's a good mechanism to have some characters like awaken, right? I definitely think like taking Mahoraga out of the picture. I was gonna say a crazy line. This is not the case, but I'm gonna deliver the line anyway. I don't believe this. It's just like it's just too raw for me to hold it in, right? At that point, it just becomes a matter of where you bury Kenjaku's body.
Hmm. I mean, maybe. I guess.
I'm proud of that line.
Like I think fighting Sukuna is enough of that impetus personally.
Mm.
And I also think there is a lot, and there's some bias in this. Don't get me wrong, but I also do think that there's some real substantive, like stuff that has been building up towards Megumi's ability to like control Mahoraga or like gain full control of the Ten Shadows in a general sense. So kind of I think having Sukuna be the one to like get Mahoraga destroyed or eliminated would be, you know, a little strange. Unless like if you think maybe Mahoraga isn't tamed, you know what I mean? Like Mahoraga is not tamed in the conventional sense right now. Like and he's still basically doing a ritual, right? Maybe in a condensed sense, if that makes sense. Um, then like yeah, destroying Mahoraga isn't that big of a deal because that would just mean it can be resummoned or whatever. But I think like permanently destroying Mahoraga is kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's like yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't personally be a fan of it is all I'll say. But I'll say from like in universe, like from Gojo's perspective, right? Yeah, I mean that's probably a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Gojo's the type to even to like I can see Gojo still going for the win regardless of that. Like
Yeah,
I'll put it
no,
like
no,
this:
he's going
Yuji's
to
the
go
type to
for the
make
win.
that
Yeah,
choice.
yeah. Like, it's not. I'm saying it as like a sort of, that's all he can aim for at the end, right? Like that's all he has left on the table to do, and he just does it because like he's going for whatever home run he can find.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I could see something to that effect.
Sleeping Danger, thank you for the 14. Yeah, Mahoraga will be absorbed by a different Shikigami. Yeah, okay, we addressed that. Let's go. Look at us, bro. Thinking ahead.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um,
Jerome Simmons. Can't you remember anything from Shibuya when Sukuna went crazy? The open moment. Can't he learn? I mean, he can't learn what like wasn't explained. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um,
yeah,
all he knows Sukuna opened something, right? Who knows if he even like knows what the words are, right? And then like a fire arrow was brought out.
yeah,
But like if you're looking at it from Yuji's perspective, that doesn't like a fire arrow is irrelevant, right? You're
yeah.
fighting Gojo.
But
He's the limitless.
uh,
And he didn't even tell Gojo, assumably so at least, about the open domain.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say like they don't even know about that. Like, why would Yuji even? And wasn't the implication that Yuji was like unconscious when Sukuna was like actively at the wheel? Because
no, you
that's when
Yuji
Jogo.
knew everything that was going on.
I thought he just
Um,
saw the result of the final malevolent shrine, but everything like
no, we know for a fact he sees like he flashes back to it, like Mimiko and Nanako dying. He sees.
okay,
Um,
interesting.
yeah.
Um,
And he talks about it being an open domain with Choso, I think.
mm,
What I when I say he didn't speak on it, I'm not saying Yuji may like necessarily lack the knowledge about Sukuna's actions. It's that for some reason or another he didn't tell Gojo about them, right?
yeah,
And that was a qualm we had earlier in the fight. Like that's kind of stupid to
yeah.
not tell him about that,
I
but
think
it
that's
is
the
what
only
it is
part of
in
this
that
fight that
regard.
I genuinely like dislike. Um, also Jerome, thank you for being a member for a month. Appreciate you. Enjoy your blue badge. Um, okay, so if you don't believe in like Gojo taking the wheel or Mahoraga with him as the end of the fight, how do you see like how do you foresee Sukuna versus Gojo ending? Like, let me rephrase.
Sukuna and Mahoraga killing Gojo.
Oh, just like consequence free, like finer. Like, okay, what is the state Sukuna's in? Like, is there a time gap between Sukuna killing Gojo and like people coming in? What's your vision for Gojo's death?
I mean, Gojo's probably gonna, leave something behind, blah blah blah, sorcerer shit. I can't speculate too much on that. I don't have the vaguest of ideas, right? But I
Right.
could see something where, um, like, because I don't know if I can imagine like the students letting Kashimo go alone. Maybe they could, right? Maybe they would. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm
Who's
not sure.
stopping him? Right.
Yeah, I guess. Um, but I could definitely see Gojo's death being the sort of like go ahead for Kenjaku to interfere. Of like so something sort of like you know how Sukuna comes in, saves Megami, and he's like, I need you for something, right? Stay alive, whatever, blah blah blah. Obviously, he was about to get pieced up by Mahoraga. I could see like obviously Kenjaku maybe not talking to Sukuna that crazy because that's wild, right?
Mm,
But I could see Kenjaku basically coming in and being like, "All right, cool, Gojo's gone, it's my fight," and that way Sukuna, um,
does what?
maybe is still coming in half, well, like recovering from the ass beating that he's been
Oh,
getting.
right. I got
Um,
you.
yeah, like he's not. Yeah, does what? Like, bro, lay down, relax, fucking do some stretches. I know, bro
Heal
is
your
not
brain.
feeling the
Yeah.
greatest. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and I mean, to be fair, like we don't know how long term the domain thing is, but if Sukuna can't open domain expansion anymore, that in and of itself is a pretty fucking massive consequence.
Yeah.
Like we don't know how permanent it is, but like if it is something that's like longer lasting, that in and of itself is like Jesus Christ. Oh, he doesn't have a domain anymore. Oh, let's cook. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling a lot. Now, granted, they shouldn't get too confident because that's crazy, but they should feel like a lot more confident in their abilities.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd be more wary of Mahoraga than the domain, because like I don't know, like Mahoraga really does seem like a trump card in all respects. Um, it's
I don't know.
it's interesting that you say that though, because you sort of the implication is that they're so far away that they like Sukuna would have the runaway time. I always felt like they were at a reasonable enough distance to like not get caught up in the fight, but a lot of these characters are pretty fast, especially like when they amp themselves with cursed energy, that they can like head onto the battlefield pretty quickly if things like start going south for Gojo.
I mean, you mean I'll put it like this, right? Two things. One, I don't necessarily doubt that, but I think Kenjaku interfering is going to slow any of these guys down.
True.
Um, and then two, right? If they were close enough to really cook, granted, we could see next chapter, right?
Mm,
But tell me why fucking like Mahoraga coming out and Sukuna being knocked out, you just not already there.
right.
Why you did not fucking piecing an unconscious Sukuna
Yeah,
up?
because like
You know what I mean?
it's something that's been brought up, and something I've been thinking about, which is you don't they don't have to be glued to their seats, you know? Like they can try to tag in and help him out. Like it's not a requirement that they have to wait until he dies.
Mhm.
So it's just like why
Um,
y'all not tagging in?
yeah. Let's see, King Knight, do you really think Gojo is dying in this fight? He doesn't necessarily have to die. Just I personally am a fan of him being taken out of the equation in a major way. The reason I lean towards fight is the type of character that Sukuna is, and the way Sukuna kind of just describes fighting at the level that he does, which is like losing is death, death is losing, whatever. Like it's over. The fight is over once one of us are dead, right? He says that to like fucking Yorozu. You know what I mean? I can only imagine that the sentiment goes that much more in Gojo's sort of favor.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah.
So as for them not being able to tag in, do you have like a perspective on that?
Not being able to tag in. I mean, I think a lot of it is it's a trust in. Well, okay, you're talking about in a future sense or like for what they're doing for what they're not doing right now.
Uh, Either or. I think but more so the future sense, because I think it was confirmed in what 223 when they were like high fiving Gojo. It's just like, yeah, you go first, like duh.
hmm I mean, in a future sense, it's like I think like and maybe I'm incorrect here, right? But I personally it's a lot of my assumptions about how the story has to go, which could always be wrong. Giga is not known for being the most predictable guy, but like my so like for example, I think Kenjaku has to be dealt with or should be dealt with before Sukuna. Personally, I think like I could see people saying that Kenjaku is more of a final villain. Like I understand that perspective. I'm not like super mad at it
It's
from
not
that sense.
crazy.
I don't.
It's not.
It,
Yeah.
it's not wild. Like I'm, but what I'm saying, like I'm talking. Part of it is like it kind of feeds into each other, right? I want this because I think it's better, and I think it's better, and I want it. So like my predictions are kind of like predicated on that sense. Um, very much in like the Gojo assumption, right? In the sense that like I think Yuji and Megami contributing to Sukuna's defeat the most is going to be more like satisfying in a visceral sense than Gojo, right? Gojo
Hmm.
beating Sukuna is cool, but like Gojo and Sukuna don't have beef, right? Could
Right.
Gojo win? Sure, absolutely. Like it's logistically possible.
Right.
Fine,
Yeah.
cool. And can Kenjaku be the final villain? Yeah, it's logistically possible. Blah blah blah. I just think Sukuna is more of a compelling final guy. I think he matters more to the protagonist in that sense. Cool, fine,
Right.
whatever. Right? Got that. Now, the reason I think Kenjaku probably will insert himself here is like Gojo is to me the only thing holding him back from like playing it less safe, right?
Right,
I think
and we
you
don't know
can
what
maybe
he.
take his
Yeah,
statements
yeah,
like of like not wanting to move with Maki, Hikari, and Yuta at the same time. But I don't think Kenjaku. Well, no, I don't think. I know Kenjaku's not scared of just Yuta by himself,
yeah, 100.
right?
Yeah, he
Um,
specifically like
he he
specifically
he
Yuta.
he
Yeah.
thinks he's a bitch, bro. Like
Right. Yeah.
he thinks he's easy eats. He
Yeah.
thinks he's light
And
work. So
let's be honest, right? Like if Kenjaku saw him in the locker room, the way he's acting, like he'd be like, "Told you."
mm,
Like,
yeah. So like I think if that's the case, and Kenjaku like comes in and he's like, because I can imagine Kenjaku being like, "Hey, I really don't want Sukuna you dying here," and then them all turning their attention on me. Not super fun, right? Um, if Kenjaku enters the fray, then that's where Sukuna gets his like time, and then that's where the students are unable to sort of like immediately capitalize fully. Um, but yeah, it depends because it depends on how like near death excuse me, you think Gojo can get Sukuna? Because if it's like to the point where Sukuna can't use fucking techniques and he can't use a domain, it's like, yeah, Sukuna's strong, but he's not that. I'm gonna be real with you, right?
mm,
Sukuna is not so strong, at least to me, where he's beating Kashimo, Maki,
yeah,
Yuta, Hikari,
especially if
Yuji
they're all
without
like,
with just
yeah,
hands, with just
yeah,
hands. You know what I mean?
and
Just hands, a broken brain, probably at this point, like however far the fight goes, probably at most like a Yuta's level worth of energy,
yeah,
right? Because of how much he's been using RCT. Like I'm talking about no technique, no domain, none of that shit. Bro's not boxing all of them and winning. I'm gonna be real, right? And that's kind of why I think like if Sukuna's gonna have a final jumping thing, he's got to at least be closer to a full power, in my opinion.
mm,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
I mean, I can definitely see an argument for it, but like, I don't know. I feel like starting them off with full power Megana seems a little bit like what was even the point of having Gojo fight Sukuna in the first place? Um, because if you're just gonna reset the clock and then add Kenjaku on top of that, then you're
I think there's a difference between full power Megana and like Sukuna being on the brink of death, like gasping for air as they pull up to like not even really fight, just clean up the mess. You
yeah,
know what I
right,
mean?
yeah. So like
And I think Sukuna could like recover to some extent without being back at full power or whatever.
right, like if we had to use like Sukuna fingers in terms of strength, he's probably used about like 11 or whatever. I think that's about a Gojo's worth of energy, or about like a Yuta's worth of energy so far in the fight. Um,
Mm.
which by the way, the implication is like 10 Sukuna fingers equals Yuta if you do the math like that. Because it's like more than double Yuta's cursed energy, just like just based on cursed energy. I mean alone, it's just like a funny
I
thought.
think it scales linearly, yeah.
Yeah. So
'Cause-
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because like full power, like that is just the amount of cursed energy he has, right? Because Mahito references Three Finger Sukuna supposing having less cursed energy than Jogo at that moment, right? Like he specifically notes the
Sure.
amount of cursed energy as like a differentiating
Yeah.
factor.
All I'm saying is like that's assuming the fingers are like a very like linear boost. Even though they get stronger over time. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean,
And
yeah. I
that is
mean,
the
it's
factor
10,
that
10 doesn't seem outlandish, honestly. Especially if you want to like make the assumption that they've also increased in power, since the Hanen era, and especially like since he has like the 10 shadows or whatever. So I think
mm,
like 10 shadows Megana, 10 fingers of Megana. I'd say that's like one Yuta's worth of like power, right? Just based on what we've seen so far.
the cursed energy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible for sure.
Um,
Um,
and
I think Zoba
honestly,
implies the fingers increase exponentially. I kind of agree.
um,
Um,
okay. So with that being said, right? Like, is there?
Kenjaku, real quick, I want to enter this. Kenjaku can't Uzumaki Sukuna. Sukuna is not a cursed spirit. Um,
That'd be fucking hilarious. Like, I
he
think.
can't do it to the Shikigami either. Shikigami aren't curses.
Mhm.
Like you guys just have to note those differences, right? They're pretty particular.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even just like he's the king of curses, right? Cool, whatever, right? A title, fine.
Mhm.
But Sukuna like is specifically not a cursed spirit, and we know
Yeah.
that because like Mahoraga's blade doesn't cleave through him like fucking butter.
Not only that, but like he's fully incorporated into Megami's body, so he's just like his base state now is like human more so than curse. Um, on top of that, I just want to say, I think it's like Sukuna was never really a cursed spirit. He was more a cursed object. which again is like a whole other thing. And one of the conditions of like being a cursed object is like not anybody can just like eat a Sukuna finger. So like
Yeah.
at best Kenjaku's gonna like explode or something if he tries it. Um,
Yeah.
as
Yep. Yep.
for
Yep.
as for the Shikigami, he can't do it because they're just a part of the
They're just not
technique.
curses.
Yeah, like their entire birth and like death cycle is the Ten Shadows technique. Like he's not he can't interfere with that. Um,
Yeah. Sleeping Ninja, thank you for the 14. Remember the Yuta versus 15 Sukuna stream? Good times. Yes, sir.
yep.
Good times, good times. Justin Williams, thank you for the 5. If Gojo dies, wouldn't the Six Eyes come back to stop Kenjaku like before? That may have been foreshadowing.
I
I'll
don't
put it
know.
like
Like
this.
a whole other
There's
person would need to be born and like live to
yeah.
that age, awaken, train, and then like it would take roughly 28 years, right?
Yeah. And the thing is too, that's typically whenever like Kenjaku is trying to absorb Tengen, right? But he's already done that. Like if you're saying like the linked by fate thing, yeah, that's true. But Kenjaku got around that by sealing Gojo instead of killing him and then absorbing Tengen. He's kind of already gotten around that sort of like that interlinked thing. And we know that there can be centuries and centuries between Six Eyes users, right? Like Gojo was the first one in like four and a couple of hundred years to have the Six Eyes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not even a necessity that another Six Eyes user just spawns into existence, even
With the
though
limitless,
Kenjaku
yeah.
would have been a constant. Yeah.
Uh, so, um, since Drum Simmons, thank you for the 35. Since Sukuna ate his own body corpse, do you think he can now exist outside Megami's body and manifest on its own? Because Megami came back. Uh,
I mean, maybe, but like if you
yeah,
think about it like this, what's the incentive, right?
yeah.
Why leave?
He's got it
You got a
made.
ten.
Yeah.
You got a sick curse technique. What? Yeah, you know.
Not only that, but
Yeah.
like you know that this body can hold you and you have control of it, right? Which is like huge considering, especially after Yuji. So I think like a more interesting question is what happens if Yuji eats the last finger now, right? Like, does the Sukuna personality just like go away? Does it transfer? Does like Sukuna just part with it and be like whatever? Like where does all the energy go and can Yuji just absorb it? Like I think there is a more interesting conversation to be had about the remaining finger. And honestly, I think on the top of my wish list for JJK, I just want to see what Yuji's been cooking, right? I want to see like where he's at, power wise and awakening wise.
Oh, really? I thought you didn't think too highly of him, considering he's not the main
Stop.
character and all.
Oh my god.
Bro, shouldn't have said it. Shouldn't have said it. Can Kenjaku use Uzumaki to gain Tengen immortality?
Thank you, Edward Benson, for the 2. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Uh,
Well, it's kind of it depends on one main factor.
uh,
Do you think Kenjaku can use a technique that he absorbs through Uzumaki multiple times? Because if not,
yeah,
what does one round of immortality mean? And
500
also,
years.
I
Like,
guess maybe,
yeah,
but like also, why does Kenjaku care about
yeah.
that?
He's already immortal. You know, like
Yeah, his technique is like probably better for like longevity than Tengen's is anyways.
yeah, and also like finding a star plasma vessel seems like a massive pain in the ass. Um,
Yeah.
just Tengen really is just like a fucking tree, kind of. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
do you what do you think the response time is? Out of curiosity, just going back to like why they haven't interfered yet, or like the tag in tag out situation, because you got me thinking about it a little bit, and I can't help but be a fan, just personally, of the they rush to Gojo's side right before he's like about to die or Sukuna's about to deliver a killing blow, and that's when Kenjaku tags in, and then we get into like Kenjaku versus the group, and Gojo needs like medical attention or something.
Said medical attention. Yeah, maybe,
Uh,
maybe.
because then you could just sort of transition naturally into like a different fight, right? And both combatants can kind of go out on their shields.
Yeah. I guess so.
So like, yeah,
I guess so.
is
Yeah.
your thing different or
Um, I mean, yeah, it could be. I don't know. I don't know. Yuji need his brothers apparently. Yeah. I feel like I don't know. Yuta eating Gojo, 'cause someone just mentioned that. I wouldn't call it a fruitless endeavor, but it's not like he can use the technique
Y-
well enough to like actually beat Sukuna with it if Gojo
Yeah.
couldn't.
Unless like Gojo reincarnates in Yuji's body, and he's like, all right, round two, or I guess like round four at that point.
Hey, listen, if Gojo learns how to turn himself into a cursed object, cook, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I
um,
wouldn't be opposed to like the Gojo vessel thing. I don't
I sure as shit would.
really. I
That
wouldn't.
shit sounds garbage.
I wouldn't mind. It depends on the execution. It's not in. It's not so bad in concept that I'm like willing to throw it away, but um, I don't think it's needed. Like I just don't think like there's different ways to make UG like get stronger slash awaken that don't involve absorbing Gojo's technique.
Yeah, and it's just like a waste of a better character, in my opinion. Like you're just, I don't know. It's just kind of like it makes sense when a villain is doing that, right? It makes you feel like you're losing someone because, this bad guy's doing a bad thing. But I don't know. It'd be kind of weird.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of
So
weird. Be kind of weird. Let's see. Um, yeah.
okay.
Let's
Um,
see.
is there? I honestly think that's pretty much it. I want to say that my predictions for next chapter are, you know, 120% in the zone Gojo versus Mahoraga. I just think Mahoraga is like he needs to be dealt with in some way, and I want to see like how the tension breaks there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Somebody asked me how many chapters I think this fight has left, and uh, I want to say a solid like three, realistically five, and that's highballing.
Um, I can see 4 to 5. See 4 to 5.
So like
Um,
four,
yeah.
realistically five, highballing.
I mean, just in that ballpark. Um,
So
I don't know
basically
if one's like,
the same
I mean,
answer.
I don't. I guess
Mm.
sure. Yeah. Let's see.
Um,
Um,
so
what does Shosu
predictions.
do for the rest of the story? He's got to fucking beat Kenjaku's ass.
Yeah. Uh,
I guess as for predictions, I think Gojo's just gonna be trying to like. I think we're gonna see Gojo kind of like be in a 118, 119 position, like kind of where Sukuna was, where his abilities still work, like they still do damage to Mahoraga, but they're not able to kill it, and I think we're gonna try to see him get around it, personally. Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. So there's no break next week. I'm gonna give this chapter a solid 10 out of 10. I just enjoyed it. It was a nice comeback thing. It was cool to see Gojo just honestly, it was cool to see Gojo fight the way he was fighting. You know, tricking Sukuna, the red from the back, black flash combo was just objectively hard. And I thought it was cool.
Yep. I give it about an 8.5. Really good chapter.
Uh,
Was rocking with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me give it a nine. I don't want to go too crazy. I know what JJK tens are. I got a little like, whew,
Damn,
the
bro,
bro
bro
the
got bro got peer
yeah.
pressured. I'm
No,
sick.
you know what happened? I like added in my reaction to all the fucking Fraudkuna memes as like part of the enjoyment, and I was like, whoa, Giga didn't do that.
Yeah. Uh.
So
Huh.
let me not get out of pocket here. Um,
Hmm.
anyway, um, cool. Uh, I think that's it for this week. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you to all the members. Thank you to all the people who super chatted. Thank you to Liv for the awesome thumbnail. Appreciate you. Um,
Thank you. Yeah. We will see you guys next week. Hope you guys are as excited for the new chapters and new episodes as we are.